In this lesson, I will focus on solving quadratic equations. Actually, quadratic equation equation is written in this form: ax squared plus bx plus c. O ka kgona bona hore this equation e ngwadile in this form: ax squared plus bx plus c. Our a in this case is 1, and then b is -2, and then c is -8. So re tlo solve these equations. Step number 1, re solve these equations. Re nyaka gore le side le one le be in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, and then the other side e be 0. O ka kgona bona gore for this one re na le x squared minus 4x is equals to 21. So re tlo dira gore le side le one e be 0, and then le side le lengwe le be in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. This means re tlo ba le x squared minus 4x minus 21. Re tlo tšea 21 ra tliša to the other side, ya change swao, and then ya ba negative, and then ra šala ka 0 on this side. Now ka kgona bona gore is written in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, and then on the other side is 0. But re ka lebella this one already is in the standard form, because it's in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, and then this side is 0. So key step number 1, re solve the quadratic equations. A re šomiše these examples or solve the quadratic equations. A re thome ka this one. Re tseba gore the first step re nyaka gore le side le one le be in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, and then le side le lengwe e be 0. And then now re na le this expression in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, and then the other side is 0. And then now ka kgona bona gore re na le a trinomial. Re na le a trinomial e le gore is written in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. That is why re ke a quadratic. Remember, a trinomial in over expression with 3 terms: 1, 2, 3. And then from here, gore tla re kgona solve quadratic equations, re tlo tshwanela gore factorize this trinomial. Just for in case you're not familiar with factorizing trinomials, ke na le a video mo ke factorize trinomials. O tlo tshwanela gore o be familiar with factorizing trinomials, because ga ke tlo focus in details in factorizing trinomials, ke tlo focus in solving quadratic equations. So from here re tlo factorize this trinomial. Re tlo ba le 2 brackets, and then ra ba le x minus 7, and then ra ba le x plus 3. So re factorize this trinomial, and then from this step re tlo equate each bracket to 0. This means re tlo ba le x minus 7 is equals to 0, and then ra dira the same thing ka this one, x plus 3 is equals to 0. If this side is 0, this means even this side it will be 0, because re equal. Ge dilo di le equal ra di lekana. So if this side is 0, ra even this side it will be 0. So if bracketed is 0, it will even this one it will be 0, because ge bracketed e ka ba 0, it will be 0. It doesn't matter number ya gone tla ba bokae, because any number times 0 is 0. So that is why re na le brackets tše pedi tša go lekana le 0. And then from this step re tlo solve for x. Re tlo tšea -7 ra iša to the other side, ya ba positive. Ra ba le x is equals to 7, and then ra dira the same thing, ra tšea 3 ra iša to the other side, and then ya change also x is equals to -3. And then this is our solutions. Ge o nyaka go prove your answer, o ka no tšea x is equals to 7, and then wa substitute mo bona x tshwanetse go fe 0. Wa dira the same thing ka this one, wa tšea x is equals to -3, wa substitute here, and then it tshwanetse go fe 0. Ga e ka so fe 0, e ra gore it's not correct. Anyway, a re lebelele this one. And then for this one o ka kgona bona gore yona already is in the standard form because the side le one in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, and then the other side is 0. And this means re tlo thoma ko factorize. Re factorize re tlo ba le x minus 4 and then ra ba le x plus 2, and then from here re tlo equate each bracket to 0. Re tlo ba le x minus 4 is equals to 0, or x plus 2 is equals to 0. And then now to solve for x, re tlo ba le x is equals to 4, or x is equals to negative 2. And then this is our solutions. And then we lemoga something, or for these two equations the leading coefficient e be le 1. The leading coefficient re no bolela ka coefficient ya x squared, because ge e le gore a one number mo era gore ke 1, even this one era mo re na le 1, so the leading coefficient e be e le 1. And then now we're going to focus on examples tse e le gore the leading coefficient is not 1, any number but not 1. And then re ka lebella these two equations o ka kgona bona gore the leading coefficient is not 1. This one leading coefficient is minus 1, and then this one the leading coefficient is 2. Because the leading coefficient is negative, all that you can do, divide both sides ka negative 1 gore kgone cancel this negative. Negative and negative do cancel, ro shala ka x squared, and then 5x divided by negative 1 ro ba le minus 5x, and then negative 6 divided by negative 1 ro ba le positive 6, and then on the other side ro ba le 0, because 0 divided by any number is 0. And then from here o ka kgona bona re na le equation ya rena in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, and then the other side is 0. This means re tlo factorize from this step. And then re equate each bracket to 0. Therefore I solve for x is equals to 3, or x is equals to 2. And then this is our answers. Every time re ka ba le a leading coefficient ya negative 1, divide both sides ka negative 1, and then o tlo ba le something like this one, and then from there wa latela everything. And then now I level this one, and then o ka kgona bona gore this equation is not in the standard form, because ra always re nyaka gore one side e be equals to 0, and then the other side e be in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. This means re tlo thoma pele ra ba le 2x squared plus 8x, ra ja minus 6 ra itlisha to the other side ya ba positive, and then ya ba equals to 0. And then now it's in the standard form, but a re lebelle coefficient ya x squared. Coefficient ya x squared ke 2, and then o ka kgona lemoga gore re na le a common factor. So every time re ka ba le a common factor, re tlo divide both sides ka the common factor. This means re tlo tshwanela gore divide both sides ka this coefficient ya 2. And then from here 2 and 2 they are cancel, re ba le x squared, and then 8 divided by 2 ke 4, and then 6 divided by 2 ke 3, 0 divided by 2 ke 0, and then from here re ka kgona factorize. And then ra seta each bracket to 0. And then ra solve for x. X is equals to -3 or x is equals to -1. And then this is our answers. Every time re na le a common factor, divide both sides ka a common factor. And then what about this one? 2x squared minus 5x plus 2 is equals to 0. This equation already is in the standard form. The other side is 0, and then the other side is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. This means the first thing you'll check what is the coefficient of x squared. The coefficient of x squared is 2, is not 1. This means a common factor. A common factor because 2, 5, and 2 a common factor. This means from this step, any method o factorize this expression a common factor. Remember a trinomial is written in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. You can factorize this trinomial in different ways. You can factorize this trinomial by using a cross method or by using a grouping method. In my previous video, I used a grouping method. I factorize this trinomial. So we're not going to use any method we're going to factorize because the key thing re nyaka go fela ke this step sa go factorize this equation. You bontsha this step sa the brackets because ke sona se lo botlhokwa. So when we can use any method. But if you factorize a trinomial mo the leading coefficient is not 1 and then a common factor, level my video mo you can be able to factorize those expressions. I just mean you don't know how to factorize. Now from this step I told you the same thing. I set each bracket to 0. This means globally 2x minus 1 is equals to 0 or x minus 2 is equals to 0. And then from here resolve for x. Resolve for x globally 2x is equals to 1. -1 ratio to the other side. And this one x is equals to 2. And then for this one from here, because renyaga x divide 2, x and x cancel. This means x is equals to half, and then or x is equals to 2. And then this is our answers. And then what about this one? As about the first thing, the side is 0, and then the other side live in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. And then in this case, a sharp. And then from here, level coefficient x squared. Coefficient x squared, it's negative. Always, coefficient negative, divide both sides by -1. Always solve quadratic equations. Make sure your coefficient x squared is positive. Divide both sides by -1. Divide both sides by -1. Robally 3x squared minus 2x minus 8 is equals to 0. And then from this step ra lebelela gore re na le a common factor na based on the coefficient ya x squared. O ka kgona bona again gore ga re ne a common factor because 3, -2 and 8 ga di ne anything in common. And this means auto factorize this equation o shumisha any method. Re tlo ba le 3x and then ra ba le x minus 2. And then from here I draw the same thing. Ra seta each bracket to 0. And then because re nyaka x, re tlo ba le 3x is equals to -4 or x equals to 2. And then for this one re tlo divide both sides ka 3 gore kgone create x. And this means x is equals to -4 over 3 or x is equals to 2. And then this is our answers. And then what about this one? Re lebelle this one first. Ba re file di brackets tse 2 and then ba re is equals to 0. Actually ge ba go file these two brackets, ba go file a trinomial yellow is in the form of quadratic, but by factorize it already. This means when there is no need to factorize it because by factorize it. And then for the fact that this side is equals to 0, this means all that we can do go equate our brackets. Re tlo ba le x minus 3 is equals to 0 or x plus 2 is equals to 0. And then from here we solve for x. X is equals to 3 or x is equals to -2. And then your answer. And then ufedije in this way. Level this one. O ka nagana gore this one re tlo dira the same thing like this one. Re ka se dire the same thing because this one re na le leside la 0, but this one leside la rena is not 0. Ge re na le this situation, the first thing re tlo multiply out the bracket. X times x is x squared. And then x times -7 is -7x. And then -5 times x is -5x. And then -5 times -7 is +35. Now we break it out a bracket. And then this 3 now we to the other side because we cannot break out a bracket. And then yaba -3. And then the other side yaba 0. And then from this step we added the like terms. Globally x squared, and then -7 minus 5 is -12. And then 35 minus 3 is 32. And then now ka kgona bona gore re na le a trinomial ya rena in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. This means from this step re tlo factorize. Re tlo ba le x minus 8 and then ra ba le x minus 4. And then from here x minus 8 is equals to 0 or x minus 4 is equals to 0. And therefore x is equals to 8 or x is equals to 4. And then this is our answers. So every time make sure ya gore ge the brackets tse pedi e le gore the other side is not 0, break out your brackets. And then after breaking out your brackets, and then what that number wa itlisha to the other side, and then what either like terms, and then what dira the same thing e le gore be re dira. And then what about this one? This one, it's not a quadratic, because quadratic it can only be written in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. But this one, re cube squared, so it's not ax squared plus bx plus c. This means this is not a quadratic. But lemoga something, re a common factor ya x, because re x here, x, x. This means re ka kgona go tšea x as a common factor. Ge re tšea x as a common factor, ro šala ka x squared, because rod x cube divided by x, and then minus 3x squared divided by x, rabale minus 3x, and then 2x divided by x, ra šala ka 2. Now ka kgona lemoga gore re na le a quadratic, because now is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Therefore re ka kgona go factorize this trinomial. And then from here, x is equals to 0, or x minus 2 is equals to 0, or x minus 1 is equals to 0. Lemoga something, x is equals to 0 ke this x. This is a variable, but ge be le gore ke a number like 2, o na le 2 here, o ka se re 2 is equals to this side, o ka se re 2 is equals to 0. If it's a variable, yes, you can say le kana le this side, but ge a number, o tlo divide both sides ka that number. So anyway, x is equals to 0, and then from here solve for x, or x is equals to 2, or x is equals to positive 1. So re na le solutions tše 3. And then that's it for this problem. This one only 2 terms only, so re tlo dira the same thing ya quadratic or what. The first thing, re tšee 9x re tliše to the other side gore re be le side la 0. Re tlo ba le x squared minus 9x is equals to 0. Go ka lebelela this problem, le yona is a quadratic, because x squared minus 9x is equals to 0 e no tshwana le ga ile x squared minus 9x plus 0. So it's in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Ax squared, bx, and then our c is 0. But generally, this type of problem, generally only 2 terms. Check a common factor. Go ka lebela mo re na le a common factor ya x. So re tlo tšea x as a common factor. And then from here, re tlo šala ka x minus 9. Now, re ka solve for x. X is equals to 0, ke this one. And then or x minus 9 is equals to 0. And then from here, x is equals to 0, or x is equals to 9. And then get our solutions. So generally 2 times, check a first or a common factor, but make sure you the side delete ever 0. And then after that we check common factor, and then we factorize, and then we create your solutions. even this one re na le two terms, so re tlo thoma pele ra tšea 9 ra etiša to the other side gore re be le side la 0, and then even this one ke quadratic because re ka ngwala in this way. And this means re na le ax squared plus bx, that our b is 0. That is why it's not necessary gore re bontšhe. Then this is our c. But ge re na le two terms, re tlo dira in this way. Go ka lebella now ga re na a common factor, but o ka kgona go lemoga gore re na le difference of two squares, and then ge re factorize a difference of two squares re tlo ba le and then from here re tlo solve for x. X minus 3 is equals to 0, or x plus 3 is equals to 0. Therefore x is equals to 3, or x is equals to negative 3, and this is our solutions. Another way you can solve this problem, okay, solve in this way. This is just x squared is equals to 9, and then resolve for x. Okay, square root, because square root is x squared you for x. X is equals to, and then square root is 9 ke 3. But remember, any number e lore tšwa square root ke plus or minus, so ra robale plus or minus 3. Therefore na le two solutions, na le x ya 3 le ya minus, so o ka kgona to solve again in this way. Even this one re na le two terms. Step number 1, re ka thoma pele ra dira le side le tee la ba equals to 0, ra tšea 16 ra ediša to the other side, and then from here o ka lemoga gore re na le a common factor because re na le 4, and then of course ka 16 re na le 4. This means re ka divide both sides ka a common factor. Ge re divide both sides ka common factor ro ba le x squared minus 4, because 16 divided by 4 ke 4, or o ka no dira in this way, o ba le x squared minus 4 is equals to 0, and then from this step re ka divide both sides ka 4, which is our common factor. So that is why o ka dira the way o nyaka, o ka thoma pele o divide ka 4 from this step, or ka ntsha 4 as a common factor, and then ge re divide both sides ka common factor ra rošala ka x squared minus 4 is equals to 0. Now o ka kgona lemoga gore o na le difference of two squares. Because o na le difference of two squares, o tlo tshwanela go factorize šomiša difference of two squares. Square root of 4 remember get 2, and then from here re ka solve for x. X minus 2 is equals to 0, or x plus 2 is equals to 0, and therefore x is equals to 2, or x is equals to negative 2, and then this is our solutions. But this problem we can in two ways. We can in this way. Automatically divide both sides ka 4, and then globally x squared is equals to 4, because 16 divided by 4 give 4, and then from here, because re nyaka x, we square both sides, and then x is equals to plus or minus 2. Square root is 4 ke 2, and then any number e tšwa ka square root ke plus or minus. Now re na le two solutions. Re na le x is equals to 2 or x is equals to minus 2, so it's the same thing.